Well, well, ladies and gentlemen, well, look what we have for you today. It is North and South. These fine soldiers in what looks to be a siege battle. So, you can see here the army of the Union, and you can see they've laid out their artillery quite well, looking to put quite a bit of pressure onto that fort. Now, you also have other members of the army making their way over. So as you can see here, these guys here from Orleans, and you've obviously got the 3rd US as well making their way past. Now you can see here that quite a large number here of the Union forces. So you can see here the 2nd Texans, and of course there's Henry Heth. They've managed to make their way quite far up here to this particular cannon encampment. Now, what they've got to try and do is make their way in here. Wow, look at that that war cry and that charge. That is fantastic. Look at these guys come charging in Orleans, and look at the fire coming in from the defensive fort. And this guy is probably going to have a bit of a bad day, as that is Nitec, Dev. Oh, and a nice team kill into Nitec from Incog. So you can see here the cannons that are up on the fort. Masses and masses of cannons. Huge cannons. And you can see here the defensive structure, and they're going to be working on trying to get that up. But if you look here, you can see that the guy who's actually owning that particular area is dead as a door now. So they've got to get to that point. So you're going to want them to try and see if they can take some of these walls down, maybe pop in through the stairs, maybe in through the side here. We'll have to wait and see. But let me tell you about the teams that are here tonight. So you can see on the Confederate States side, we have the 26th from North Carolina, the 4th from Virginia, and the 1st, I'm guessing that will be South Carolina. And let's see what else we've got in there. The 19th Louisiana Volunteers, the Texans. Oh, so many people in there. Absolutely fantastic. And in as the Union, we have the Orleans and the 12th North Carolina, 2nd Texan. You can see also in there from the 2nd Connecticut, Cakealicious. Great name. And so many. Oh, look, the 2nd, the Indianans in here as well. And you can see also Wisconsin and many others, and UA in there as well. So, the Union Army. So, as you can see, plenty of defences around this particular Confederate fort. So you can see essentially what's happened is that the fort is being defended quite well. They've already taken down this gate, and this is going to be pretty much their main defensive area. So you can see, there we go, Mr. Finn T in as sapper, and you can see he's built all these rampart defences. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this game, very different in Napoleonic Wars. The rifles that these guys use have proper rifling. These things can hit very accurately for quite some distance. So it means that casualties, if anything, are very quick and very, very nasty. And it's another case of essentially the... Oh dear, look at this little bit of a rampage going on from Caribou QC from Orleans. And he is going in. Looks like he's going to be trying to get to some of these artillerymen, which is exactly what's happening. And there's Hans Locquar, and he's also coming under fire from one of the officers. That's Lieutenant Colonel Hale, who's in there with his 6-shooter. And you can see him doing a bit of damage until he gets bayoneted. And there's Latreille as well. So you can see these guys all continuing to just swarm all over this first entrance, taking cover behind the areas as the members of the Confederate State Army are trying to defend. And it looks like this first barricade, they've been overrun. Now that's really difficult for them. So you can see all the people dead on this side. And now you can see the other members of the defenders starting to move back towards the inner keep. Now, this is the inner keep, not being defended at the moment. You've even got a rocket launcher up there, should you wish to use it. You've even got a well, obviously, because, you know, you've got to have a drink. while you're here, and you've obviously got defensive areas with stairs going up. So these guys are going to try and hold this point, as you can see, but unfortunately, even though they've got a little bit of defences behind, there's no kind of substantial... Oh, that's going to be an unfortunate spawn. There's no kind of substantial defences behind those defences, if you know what I'm saying. So whether or not they should have put some defences in here, just to create a sort of a third line, and actually have those guys in that form. But you can see over here on the right-hand side, you can see that they've already got a breach on the right-hand side. And you can see, it looks like here from Wisconsin, Colonel Musil, it's starting to push in, and he's got his 6-shooter out, and he's trying to get those all-important kills. Takes Gimmeat out, and there's Lieutenant Colonel Doyle. Correction, there was Lieutenant Colonel Doyle. So, let's see how it's going. And you've got these guys who are trying to engage at distance. Well, he isn't. Corporal Highlander has been taken down. So you can see these guys continuing to defend around this particular cannon position. There's Private Monk in there. And Flashita. Oh, look at that from 19th Louisiana Volunteers. And he's using his cannon, and that's taken a massive hit from one of the other cannons. So that's going to do some massive amount of damage. So let's see what happens. As you can see, let's see. Yeah, look at that. Great work there by the engineer. That's Jaffa Hubler. Or Hubler. We'll call him Hubler. And let's just see, because what he's trying to do is he's essentially trying to stop anybody coming in there, or at least delay them long enough for people to get fire onto the enemy. And you can see them trying to do that damage, and they are having a bit of a problem. But you can see here that the fort is in the process of being overrun by the Union forces, and here is a desperate defense here by the members of the Confederate State Army. And you can see it looks like we've got more people in there and more barricades being placed by Morale Buffo. So you can see the fire coming into here. And finally, the defense of the inner keep is continuing, and this is where the Union forces crash against them like water, waves against rocks. And this is going to be a last-ditch defense here for the members of the Confederate State Army. So, or the Confederate States Army. And there we go, more fire coming in, and looks like the Union troops are through, and this is where it's going to get nasty. They're going to run around the corner to a man with a bayonet, and he's going to literally, oh, look at that, massive fire coming in, and these guys are going to be able to reload as quickly as they possibly can. And there's Supernova, Brigadier General Supernova, leading his troops forward very bravely, and unfortunately not brave enough, as Habelhau takes him down. And you've also got the likes of Nuclear Goat up there as well. And he is in the process of trying to shoot down any of the Union forces as we get stuck in one of the buildings. So now you can see the Union forces overrunning the central area, and you can see literally the cannon damage that's been done to this. You can see Colonel Musil from Wisconsin. Oh, a nice team kill by Sergei onto him. And let's see if we can get back into this battle and see what's going on. As you can see them going for this flag as Cannonball flies over the top. And look at these guys defending for all they're worth. Or defending so much against all this massive push here by the Union forces. And the Union forces taking so much fire. And you can see here there's Sinjid as well. Brigadier OMG Potatoes moving in as well. And you can see here massive amounts of pushing coming in. And you can see these guys. Look at that. A defense. Oh, beautiful. Captain Scott's with a very sneaky defense. Taken down almost immediately by the Union forces. But you can see other members of the Union forces were trying to get up there. But because planks have been built, they can't actually get up there. So these guys are actually blocking themselves in so that they can't actually get any more additional forces up there. But it seems to actually have done the job, as you've got a lot of guys in the main courtyard. Now they can actually start dealing with the problem. And here is the defensive. This fine fellow, PFC Swiss, out with the pistol. Trying to get an important pistol kill maybe, as Blab takes down Gaspard. And you can see, look at the number of Union forces here. See, they're so determined to stay here, they're even building a tent. That's what you call serious plans to stay where they are. So, but you can see the fire coming in, and the chances are that they're going to reduce this keep to complete rubble. So there's Hammerstout, and let's see what's going on. So you can see these guys, Propaganda Elmo, biting the top off his bullet, spitting it into the barrel, and then obviously ramming it home. So these are the kind of things that you see people do in films. It's kind of reloads that they would have, but obviously the rifling of these barrels is what gives it its massive accuracy compared to the likes of the Napoleonic War era. So, you know, I mean, you could be talking, you know, 50, maybe 100 years difference. I mean, the speed at which stuff actually improved is quite amazing, really. I mean, you just look at things like, you know, the difference in weaponry from like the 1900s to the 1914. Just amazing, and that's just 14 years. So you can imagine the progression that has been made beyond, and especially sort of this sort of era as well. So here are the Union forces attempting to break down the barricades set up by the Confederate. Oh my goodness! Look at these guys. This is some serious defending going on. And they've got 7 minutes and 41 seconds to get into the fort. And I have to say, this is an absolute last-ditch battle, or last-ditch defence, I should say, here by the members of the Confederate States Army. And you can see they're doing a fantastic job trying to take down as many of the Union forces as they can. And now they're going to start to push in, and they've got to dodge the bullets because in come more barricades, in come yet more Union forces. Through the smoke, out comes the flag as well. And a guy with the flag going in there as well. He's literally going to shove that flag up their nose. And these guys continue to reload as quickly as they can. And look at that. Oh, a massive explosion going into this central point. Absolutely obliterating most of the 27th from Virginia. Look at that. Oh, that's a massive hit for those guys. Very, very nasty. And that's another defensive line that they're going to have to actually do without. So you can see now, as a result of this, the Confederate State Army is starting to push up a little bit further. Maybe getting a little bit more aggressive as another member goes down from the Union Army. And you've obviously got over here, let's see who this is, Henry Heth from the 2nd Texan, sporting a fine ginger beard. Let's just see. There is Lieutenant Colonel Nitek from the 15th Alabama. So, you can see them all trying to get back behind the barricade. It's like, I want to be back behind the barricade, damn it. And here is a defensive fusillade line, courtesy of the 5th VA. Those fine gentlemen from Virginia. Basically waiting in a two-line execution squad. Oh, they've done it again. Look at that. That's nasty. And these guys managed to dodge that. How Dezella has actually managed to survive, I don't know. But look at the smoke as it's starting to clear. And the trouble is what they're doing is they're slowly picking away at those defences. I mean, look at that massive hole in that wall as well. And that's just mad right now. So you can see with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, you can see the intensity of the Union push has actually started to peter out a little bit. So you can see now that they are kind of pushing, but right now I think it looks like, yep, there we go. It looks like reinforcements are now arriving, and now you can see them starting to push in and start to push in against these guys. And there's Brigadier General OMG Potatoes with a fine stab into Raven. And you can see OMG Potatoes doing his thing. For those of you who are wondering, same melee mechanics and same firing mechanics as you have in Napoleonic Wars, as this is a mod based on Napoleonic Wars. And Brigadier General OMG Potatoes was going bananas until he was sliced up by PFC Flemmy from the 15th Alabama. So OMG Potatoes doing a fantastic job. And you can see here the continual defense of these guys. Look at this. Corporal Scotts from North Carolina doing a fantastic job of building up the defences so that these guys can continue to fight this battle and defend this fort. Oh, look at that. Massive team kill coming in from Madison Sergeant Dachet. And that's going to be a bit of a problem. But I think they managed to actually make it in. But look at the damage that's been done. The smoke that's actually been generated. And now you can see here, as the Union forces are starting to charge forward in numbers, out with the bayonets. They're not doing a huge amount of fighting. They're just trying to get in there up close and personal. Use those bayonets to make as much damage as they possibly can. And these guys are literally having to run away as cannon fire comes in, taking down one of the last lines of defences. And in comes the execution squad here, behind barricades as well. And these guys are doing their best to try and stay out of the way, as this is an absolute pitched battle. Look at the Union forces coming in. They are absolutely everywhere. They're trying to get up towards that flag. They're trying to get in there. But you can see here, oh, down goes Pedro. Gets sliced up. And this could be an unfortunate situation. So let's see what's going on, as these guys also are firing into this defensive area. And you can see the flag slowly starting to drop down. But there is a Union member. That is PFC Irishman from North Carolina, having a little bit of a bayonet dozy-do and unfortunately losing that. And you can see here that more defence is being put up by Jaffa Hubler. And you can see the battles consisting of masses of stabbings going on in that area. So you can see here huge amounts of fire coming in. Who is that commanding officer? That's Brigadier General Supernova, looking for an opportunity to slice his sabre into anybody who's nearby, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't want to get a team kill. And there we go. He gets finished off as well, stabbed in the back by a defending member of the Confederate State Army. And look at this. Oh, God, no love for the flipping musicians. That's the problem with these people. So you can see here the Union forces, and this is where they're going to have their opportunity for their, I would say, a final push. With 2 minutes and 27 seconds left on the clock, there's not going to be much time available to them, and you can see lots of stabby goodness going on this main area, as literally Jaffa Hubler is building himself into a blocking area so that these guys can't get through. They've got to keep stabbing. Jaffa Hubler's going to keep repairing. Meanwhile, you can see there's Sinjid in there, and he's managed to get on top. But is he going to fall off? Is he going to... He's going to make it in there, and he's going in for a stab. If he goes in and gets Jaffa Hubler, is the person who he's going to have to focus on. He's going to stop making those defences, but Sinjid goes down. And Jaffa Hubler is now in a position to actually get defences back up. And you can see another engineer as well. Oh, an engineer comes under a stabbing fire. And that was, I think, Cotton Picker as well. He gets taken down. And now look at the number of Union forces getting into here. Stabbing going onto this point, as it looks like Jaffa Hubler and Lance Corporal Scotts are the two engineers left defending that point against the push of the Union forces. One goes down, and you can see it looks very nasty as far as they're concerned, and it looks like the Union forces have captured. Oh, and more team killing coming in. Oh, 1 minute attack. Look at that. That was their last moment. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Union Army has captured the fort. And so, after a switch around, a nice little switcheroo, the teams have been swapped around. So those people, as Zalva wanting a shout out there from the 8th Wisconsin, which I'm more than happy to give. And it looks like also Private Lee from the 19th Louisiana Volunteers. So, let's just wait and see. As you can see here, there's Proteus and Hagman, and there's Nitek. So, essentially what's happened is, you can see all those guys who were in as the Union forces have been switched to Confederate, and those in the Confederate have been switched to Union. And now it is the turn of the opposing team, the defending team from the previous round, to go up against their enemy with an attack upon the fort. So here we go. Here are the mortar sections. As you can see, Necro LD with a nice kill onto 3 members, I should say, of the 8th WI. Okay, so you can see here, there's Staff Sergeant Incognito and PFC User from the 26th North Carolina Artillery. And this fine fellow here is Malope from Louisiana Volunteers. and North Carolina. For those of you who think that LV is Las Vegas, bear in mind that Las Vegas technically didn't exist until the middle of the 19th century. So, yes, I fell into that trap as well. Now, this is interesting. This is where the mortars are for the Confederate State Army. And that is a very weak door point. So, and this is the problem that they're going to have now. As a result of that, these artillery guys are being attacked. And, oh, hello, knock knock. They don't really want to open that door for that reason. And so now that flank is open. So, as you can see here, men coming in for a little bit of slicey goodness. As you can see, First Lieutenant Moody in there trying to... Oh, stabbed by Tyler and Tyler. And now they lock the door. So we'll have to look through this little hole, find out what's going on. Aha. So they're looking towards it. Why are you looking through my murder hole? Don't stick that gun in my face. God, some people, so rude. So you can see the defending forces. There is, of course, James McFarland from the 3rd United States. And, of course, Colonel Musial from the 8th Wisconsin. I nearly said Michigan. I'm like, what the hell's that? So, bear in mind that the previous attack and previous push came in serious force here on the left-hand side. So that's pretty much where they're defending. And they're trying to do as much damage as they possibly can. And the problem is you've also got ladders that make it easier for the forces to get in. And that's exactly what's happening. So the forces are going to come in over here on their left flank or on their right flank and then just cut them all to pieces with withering fire. And so like you see here, Corporal Pye from North Carolina is in the... Oh, did you see that cannonball go over the top? Oh, Nelly! And you can see that basically what these guys are trying to do is they're trying to build another line of defence as... I think that was Captain Walter from OVI got taken down. And so these guys are trying to build this defence and form a second line of defence behind the previous one. And you can see here as Captini Otto going in for a mass slice fest. These guys not paying attention to what's going on around them. And that's a nasty sword he's got there. As Brigadier General Supernova is also killed in the battle. And so let's move back in. So you can see these guys all lining up, moving out as a line from spawn. I don't even want to know what Plexer is doing. He's hiding in a very, very sneaky position. So this is where most of the melee battle is going on. As Nerdcore gets murdered by Lance Corporal Hunter. And here we go, you can see Corporal Pye continuing to build those all-important defences. Those massive, huge spikes, just in case any horses come across. And just to stop them. Now, I'm surprised they don't put some kind of maybe circular thing or semicircular thing around here like this. So that it could essentially act as a defense for that final section. But they've no reason to actually return to that particular area as of yet. So you can see here the defences being assigned or being set up by the sappers. And they can then hide behind those lovely sandbags, which will obviously absorb some of the bullets, but not all. So you can see them now firing into the Union forces as the Union forces come charging towards them, trying not to fire through their engineers. Oh, correction. Firing through one of their engineers as Sukeasa takes down Corporal Pye. Pye has been well and truly sliced. Poor Pye. So you can see here the members of the Confederate State Army. I'm Sunday being taken down, volunteer no less. And over here you got Frank Underwood, Dixie president. Unfortunately he is no more. And you can see also cryogenics from Cobra Brig. And here is another engineer, Ulysses Grant, no doubt a son of the famous general Ulysses S. Grant. So we'll have to wait and see. As you can see that literally most of the attacks that are occurring, or most of the pressure that's being put on to the fort is coming in from this right flank, so to speak. or sorry, their left flank, the Confederate States' left flank. And you can see these guys hiding behind the buildings to try and offer themselves some cover. And you can see, look at this, good work by the engineers, literally just blocking off all those important choke points. And these guys are doing a fantastic job of defending themselves. But the problem is, obviously, you've got this guy in here as well. There's Mercenary Philip. Is there another way to get in there? No, they can shoot through the windows, but there's no real way for them to get into that building. So what's happening is that they're actually being funneled through these killing grounds here on the left-hand side and now over to their right-hand side, which means that as long as they don't get overrun and as long as the Confederate State Army do not lose too many people, they may be able to hold it. There's Gabriel O'Brien from the 3rd US. I won't even ask what he's doing. This Mercenary Philip manages to catch a bullet in between the shoulder blades as he's jumping back out of the way. As you can see, the bodies everywhere from the killings that are occurring, along with a gentleman hiding. There's Morale, Mirica, and Byron. Mirica! Hell yeah. Hooah! And there's Galbart, of course, from the 5th VA. So he's going to be looking. Now, the thing is to bear in mind is the fact that these rifles that they've got, look at the accuracy that they can get onto these guys behind cover. So, you know, they are behind cover, but it's not actually high enough to stop them. And there we go. It looks like the Union forces are now starting to break through the last line of defense for the members of the Confederate State Army, or Confederate States Army, I should say. And now they're starting to move back. You can see that one's also been put up as a block as well. Over here on the right-hand side, look at the bodies everywhere and the rifles just left behind. Oh, look, there's a man on a horse. And it's Captain Mikhail, who's about to run into a spike. Not a smart move, but never mind. So, as you can see here, more slicing. Propaganda Elmo going in with the saber. And, oh, he's not going to be happy about that. Here's Mr. Elmo. So, let's find out what's going on as there's Captain Mikhail. And you can see mass slicing going on here as North Carolina Colonel Hale takes down Pony. And there's Lackaffey with a nice little rifle. You've got to wonder if they're hitting them with a rifle that hard to kill them. Does it actually, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Does it actually warp the barrel? Or does it bend the barrel so they can't actually fight properly? Don't even want to know what's going on over here. Something very bizarre between these two people. Here we go, the horse is in danger, and he's been done, and he's got to watch out, but he's managed to survive and fight back, so we shall follow Captain Mikhail. Got to be careful, this is the things that you have the problem with melee. 2 men on 1, you've got to be careful not to actually slice your teammate, and that's the problem you're always going to have. So it looks like Colonel Phillip from the 27th Virginia has been taken down, and the defense is continuing. There's Brigadier General Supernova, and look at this defensive, but look at the fort. The inner keep of the fort has been absolutely air-conditioned. It's not so much walls as it is a Swiss cheese, really. You can see here all of these defences being put in, and massive amounts of mortar fire being poured in from these cannons on the right-hand side. Look at that, mortar going up in the air, you can see it there. Right in the centre of the screen. Lagging slightly as it goes. See if we can follow it down. Following it all the way down. And unfortunately it looks like it went onto the rocks behind. So a little bit long in that respect. So let's see, as you can now see here, the defence of Fort Swiss Cheese is continuing. And we're looking at Colonel Eric. And you can see that the cannons have come right through these defensive walls. And right through the walls at the other side as well. There we go. That's a nice landing by the mortars. 2 mortars landing side by side. And now you can see, obviously, a huge amount of firepower being deployed and focused onto that fort to essentially reduce it to rubble. And you can see here from Louisiana Volunteers, Irish and Haldir from the 15th Alabama, You've got Private Tom looking to try and take down those defences, those nasty, nasty planks, which are very, very defensive. And there's obviously more members of the Louisiana Volunteers. And you've got these guys over here. And there we go, more fire coming in from Captain Dealer from the 26th North Carolina. And you can see them continuing their stabby goodness as they now start to push into the inner areas of the main fort, the inner keep, so to speak. So you can see here, they're fighting, but the trouble is they don't seem to have a lot of people in this particular area. And that's the problem I think they're going to have. And I think part of it is because of issues with spawning. So that's a real shame, really. And user, oh look at that, an explosion right underneath the area of the flag, taking down so many things. And now you can see the other members of the Confederate States Army starting to push up to that area and trying to defend it, as now more Union forces push in. There's Propaganda Elmo with a face only a mother could love, and more members of the Union forces moving in. So you can see, obviously, now that's one thing to bear in mind. Whoops-a-daisy. Ludwig taking down Recruit Joker, as that looked to be a cannonball bouncing off his shoulder. To bear in mind that the Union forces would be using the Springfield rifles, and pretty much most of the Confederate States forces would be using Lee Enfields as supplied by the British. So, because the British would have actually had a vested interest in having a government, I suppose, that was a little bit more sympathetic to their cause, perhaps, and they had that with the Confederate States. The Union obviously were less so, as you know, for obvious reasons. So let's see, Covenanter looking around the fort. This there, look at this. That's not a fort. That is a flipping gully of death. And you can see here, there's Talik, that MO, and you can see, oh, and a nice team kill coming in from PFC user. Horsey goodness in the fort from Captain McHale, and Finn T with a nice kill onto the pie. And let's see what's going on. As you can see up here, Cone trying to desperately defend against all comers, and finally stabbed to the floor. And it looks like maybe we'll have to see if these guys are actually going to make it up there. So you can see plenty of stabby goodness occurring. Orleans are in there. You can see them, oh, the fire coming in all over the place. They've got to try and keep their heads down, defend that area. And that's the problem they're going to have, especially when gentlemen like this are on their way. As I pause to sneeze, apologies for internet-based phlegm ejection. It's not part of the planned broadcast. So, interesting stuff going on right now. As you can see, those, look at those mortars. Those mortars have just absolutely rendered this thing into rubble. It's not so much a fort as it is one big bloody crater. I mean, granted, the walls over here on the left-hand side, because of these fences, I don't think you actually seen them make use of this, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, if they could have got a couple of mortars on here, then they could have pushed in on the left-hand side as well. Maybe made a little bit more of a push in. But, oh, more fire coming in as Recruit Joker gets killed by Deeka. But he managed to kill Colonel Kohler. So the secret recipe has now been lost forever. And Ulysses S. Grant, engineer of choice, or sapper as we would call them under the circumstances, is now moving up to the flag area to start deploying defences and sandbags and all that kind of funky stuff. Out comes the hammer. And any minute now, we shall continue. As down in the main courtyard comes the Union Zerg. Okay, maybe not all of the Union Zerg. As unfortunately G. Custer just got taken down. Kind of ironic, really. And you can see these guys continuing to fire into the defenders as they come towards them. And hoping to get that all-important little kill. See if they can do it. Out comes the bayonet. So you can see them trying to get that all-important bayonet kill. but the guys are also going to be using these bushes to sort of hide their movement. That's going to be advantageous. I'm surprised we're not seeing anybody using bushes to move around here, but I don't know whether or not they'll be able to get around in time. Although it looks like here Private Sol has actually done a good job of getting himself into a nifty little position. But you can see here the defences are starting to crumble just a little bit. Now this could be because of the lack of ability to spawn or for whatever reason, but you can see here that the Confederate States Army is doing a fantastic job of trying to defend down to the last man. And you can see here there's James McFarland from the 3rd US, and he's going up to join the defensive team. And we shall just have to wait and see what happens. Oh dear. That's very nasty. So you can see just bodies everywhere. Bodies absolutely everywhere. And I actually turned up the bodies settings on the game so you guys could actually see the full number of bodies that are actually in this game and the amount of deaths that have actually occurred. You can see, look at that, Great John doing a good job of defending. Oh, going into stab, and he ducks to one side. Looks like he comes out, and who is that man? That is Colonel Museum, or Museum? Museal even. On there we go. Great John with a nice team kill onto Habalhu. But, oh, and down goes Museal. So Great John with a good job. We'll probably have to say sorry to his teammate, but look at this. The Union forces now starting to make their way up. And the Union has again captured the fort. And 1 minute earlier than the previous team. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was damned close and a fantastic game. Well played by both sides. Down to the last 2 minutes on both battles. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next battle you will see will be a normal line battle. So I hope you've enjoyed our return to North and South. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate all your support on this, and I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys do. And obviously extra thanks to all of these regiments that play North and South, and for their interest in this game and the history and everything related to it. So this game, as you well know, and the battles that occur would be nothing without every single person on this server. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That has been North and South, and we'll see you again soon for more.